Good evening. My name is Mark Radulich. I am the owner of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network and the co-host of the podcast you're listening to, The Long Road to Ruin. We are taking a brief moment tonight away from our usual levity and fun that we have on this podcast, talking about movie franchises, to address a particular issue. At this time, I would like to bring out my co-host, Mr. Sean Comer, who would like to address you on said issue. Sean?
Evening, everybody. I promise you we're going to get to all the fun and frivolity of talking about movies that we love and movies that we hate in just a few minutes. But first, I'll ask you to bear with me just a bit while I break character for a moment. This is the part where I say something witty, something sarcastic, something mildly snarky. Maybe I bust a quick freestyle rhyme for you. But I'm not coming to you tonight as Sean Comer, the podcast host. I'm coming to you as a human being who's still trying to wrap his head around something tragic that we're only a little less than 2 weeks removed from. A lot of the people who listen to this are probably regular members of either fans of the online reviewer and podcast and web show host community, you're fans of it, or you're just fans of a whole subculture of other fans with cameras or microphones who get in front of said cameras and microphones every week or every couple of weeks and talk about the things that they love. And not even 2 weeks ago, suddenly, tragically, and inexplicably, our community lost somebody who was beloved by many fans and beloved by a privileged, select few friends and colleagues. Justin Carmichael, who is known to a lot of people online as Juario, a long time, up until last year, reviewer and personality of That Guy with the Glasses and his own website, ycpt.com, which stands for You Can Play This, the name of his show, died. He took his own life. I'm not here, as many have, to talk about the circumstances of his death. I'm here tonight to say a brief word celebrating the uncommon way that he lived his life. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I didn't know Justin especially well personally. I knew him by reputation, by being a fan and follower of his videos, and also by the fact that he was an extremely dear friend of an extremely dear friend of mine. And over the couple of years that I was able to become at least passingly familiar with him from the videos that I saw and the couple of times that I dropped in on a couple of his live stream shows, which he did regularly, and all that I heard of him very glowingly from my very good friend, he was a man who was everything when he was away from the camera that he was in front of it. And what he was in front of it was something that in this world is increasingly rare. The kind of entertainment that even myself and Mark try to put out every couple of weeks, and that some blessed people bless their hearts do every week, and some, I don't know how they do it, several times a week. It's exhausting. For many of us, in a way, it's theater. When the light on the camera goes on, or after I hear that verse and chorus of the Foo Fighters, it's us, but it's us with the volume dialed up. That's why we so often make a lot of wrestling comparisons. And the fact is a lot of times the most popular people, the people who get to do this on the highest level and enjoy the biggest audience and all the perks and sometimes the travails that brings with it are the ones who are very over-the-top, snarky, sarcastic, angry when they're in character. And there are a very select few who are able to be beloved by many just simply by being the same person in front of the camera that they are away from it. And from all that I was able to see and all that his friends have remembered over the last couple of weeks, that's what Justin was. That's what's truly going to be missed in this world. It's not so much the fact that an online community lost an entertaining guy. And he was tremendously entertaining. Make no mistake, if you want to honor that part of my life, I cannot recommend enough going to that guy with the glasses and watching Suburban Nights and reveling in that phenomenal David Bowie from Labyrinth cosplay of his, or the fantastic George Takei impression that he spouted off time and again throughout To Boldly Flee, the 50th year anniversary special, or any of his numerous crossovers with several people. But it's the fact that he didn't just love the people who followed him as fans, he loved them as people. He was a testament to the fact, right up to the very end, that it might sound like a platitude, but it is genuinely proven time and again. You get back, and by you I mean anybody, gets back what they put forth into the universe. He put forth genuine, positive, upbeat energy and love for the people who took the time to watch his videos, took the time to come say hi to him at conventions. And his show wasn't about ranting and railing exclusively about stuff that he hated. A lot of it was about the stuff that he loved. Manga, Kamen Rider, Nintendo, in all its many various ways, shapes, and forms. And that's the best way. Always keeping that in mind, always remembering that example is the best way to make sure that he's never forgotten. And I don't just mean us as entertainers. I mean simply the fact that it's so easy to be mean. It's so easy to spout off. It's so easy to be hateful online when you're behind a keyboard or even just in front of a webcam. It's so easy to do that. It's so much harder to just openly like things, to openly like people, and to be willing to joke and to be willing to smile. It's something that there's too little of online. It's something that there's too little of on that guy with the glasses, the Spoonie experiment, on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, 411 Mania, almost anywhere. It's something that he gave the community that he was a part of, something that it needed, and something that deserves to live on if all of us out there really appreciate it. I'm dedicating tonight's show personally not just to Justin and in thanks for all that he gave the world online and off, fans and to friends and family. Not just dedicating it to him, but dedicating it to every loved one of his. And there are a lot of them out there right now, listening or not. Everyone who right now is missing a good man from this world who right now is making the hereafter better for his presence. And before we observe a quick moment of silence, I want to read something real quick that our title card artist, Ben Cologne, to me, it's actually some text from a small photographic that he made. It was a quote that he pulled from one of Justin's live streams, in which he was very plain-spoken, very laid back with his fans, was never exactly in character, so to speak. But it's something that was very heartfelt, and I'm obviously not going to do justice to the way that Tig administrator Holly Brown read it on Nash's stream shortly after he died, but I'm going to read it anyway because it's something that I want everybody out there to remember and carry forward. And I quote, "What I'm about to say is important, I think. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I want you all to know this. This goes out to everybody. You're not stupid, okay? You're not stupid. Don't ever tell yourself that you are. You're important. What you have in your head may not mean a lot to a lot of people, but it's what makes you special. You are important. You mean something. And you're going to go out there and you're going to do some wonderful things. But first and foremost, you're not stupid. You're not an idiot. Don't ever tell yourself that you are. And if nobody else ever tells you this, I will tell you this. I care about you." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Very well put. All right. We are, in fact, going to switch gears now, rather awkwardly. We are tonight going to conclude our three-part series on the aliens and predators, of course, concluding with the smash-up, mash-up, monster crash-up that was Aliens versus Predator and Aliens versus Predator Requiem. And here is our guest expert on all things xenomorphic, all things interstellar, all things space drive, all things flux capacitor, all things from far beyond driven, all things that stop me at any time. Mr. Jason Offutt, how do you do, sir?
I do great. Thank you for that intro. That was absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad you got the flux capacitor shoved in there.
Yeah, that's a plug for our show in 2 weeks, but enough about that right now. Jason, before we get into tonight's show, Sean was telling me that you do some ghost hunting and that you are something of an expert on sci-fi and aliens. We've had you on 2 times before, and we've gone over your resume, and I just can we focus on that tonight? Tell us about your the sci-fi part of yourself, not the Arnold Schwarzenegger kid side, but the adult part of you that's wrapped up in the sci-fi ghost world.
Well, with the sci-fi, it goes back to what we've talked about before. That I grew up watching this stuff. The sci-fi grabbed me as a young child and held on to me, and I've never given it up. With the ghost part, I saw something that scared the hell out of me in my house when I was a kid. I saw a full-bodied apparition when I was about 9 years old, and I've spent the time since trying to figure out what the hell it was that I saw. And I've written four books on the subjects of ghosts and the paranormal, just trying to answer that question, and mainly finding out that I am not alone by a long shot. There are millions of people in this country who've experienced things that they can't explain.
Now, were you personally being haunted, or just the ghost was there and you both were occupying the same space?
All right, I walked out of my bedroom. I was going to go into the hallway and pick up a book, and there was it was like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday, and it was bright and sunny, and I walk into the hallway, and I'm startled because there's a little boy about 6 years old standing there, and he was staring at me, and he had brown hair, blue flannel shirt, and blue jeans, and I could see the bookshelf through this boy. And I have no idea how the heck, long I stood there and stared at him, but we stared at each other, and the boy blinked, and whatever shock I was in at seeing this, ghost in my house, that, it blinking kind of broke that, and I turned around and walked into my room and shut the door. And it didn't so much scare me as it did, just make me really, really curious. No, I wasn't haunted. Nobody in my family ever reported seeing or hearing anything, but I saw it plain as day.
Fascinating. There's a part of me that certainly wants to not crack jokes about it, but this is your personal experience, and I'm not going to go that route. I can't say I've ever experienced anything like that. I have my own theories about the afterlife and ghosts and all of that, but it also comes from the fact that I've never really experienced anything supernatural. So to each his own, certainly. All right, let's get into Alien versus Predator. So we talked about, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Alien franchise at length, and we talked about the sort of near misses and hits with that series. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Predator franchise, and what's really great about both movie creatures, is that independent artists kind of went their own way with both of them and threw them together and made some really interesting combinations. Dark Horse Comics is the one that especially sticks out in my mind. Maybe you two have some other ideas about this, but I remember back when I was collecting comics, Dark Horse Comics ran a series of Alien vs. Predator comics, then Alien comics by themselves, Predator comics by themselves. They were novels, paperback novels by the same name, and they all went about exploring the different things you could do. And that was ultimately what was great about both, is that they were open to interpretation. They were for whoever wanted to use them in any way they wanted. And some of this stuff tended to get silly. You had we've mentioned this on Robert's podcast. Apparently there was a Tarzan versus Predator or something like that. There's Batman versus Predator. There was I owned a video game. I think it was Terminator versus RoboCop. So let's just talk about that for a moment. 2 summers from now, there's going to be a Batman versus Superman movie, and it goes to the idea that we as fans apparently really enjoy seeing famous characters battle one another. Why do you think that is? I'll go to Sean first and then Jason. What is it about sort of the fanboy culture that enjoys seeing iconic characters want to duke it out? What is it about our Godzilla versus King Kong culture that makes it so wonderful?
Have you never watched Deadliest Warrior?
No, I haven't. Whatever do you mean, sir?
You lucky son of a bitch. Well, that is what it amounts to. Is if you've ever seen Deadliest Warrior, and for those of you who haven't, don't track it down. Don't bother. You're not missing anything, really. It is, this is the feces Spike TV throws at the wall that somehow manages to stick occasionally. Basically what it comes down to is it just comes down to your standard locker room or just stoned or drunk on the couch after a kegger questions of, dude, who would win in a fight, ninja or samurai? And that's all it just comes down to, is just imagining the fantasy warfare and the back and forth and the checks and the balances. And it's just, when it's executed right, it's actually really entertaining when it's carried out in a way in which you have the strengths of each kind of canceling one out after the other. It's not meant to necessarily be anything serious. It's just a little good old-fashioned fanfic fun. You don't necessarily go to Freddy versus Jason really expecting to be scared. You don't expect to go and watch Godzilla versus King Kong and necessarily expect to be scared. Or Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. It's just, you have a couple of imposing figures, and you wonder if you took the human prey out of the occasion, and it was just one versus the other, which one is badder and which one should people be more pants-shittingly afraid of? And again, Freddy versus Jason, it works. It comes down to a fight that's campy and fun and just hysterical in its own way, but it also really is just pitting one against the other. Jason, physically, is absolutely unstoppable. He is a goddamn... What was that?
He said
thank you.
Compliment.
Yeah, yes, whether we're talking about a Voorhees or an Offutt or a versus the Argonauts, things named of Jason are unstoppable. For the sake of our guest, we'll just go with that assumption. But then you wonder, okay, physically, there is no stopping him once he gets going. But what if something could quite literally get inside his head and manipulate him that way? Because after all, we've shown that he's pretty susceptible to suggestion. All you got to do is just wear a ratty-looking sweater. Basically, Jason is a hulked-up, pissed-off Norman Bates. Well, okay, then let's take a killer who's basically non-corporeal, who can bend reality to his will and can find anybody's one lingering fear. And in Jason's case, he finds it. Jason is deathly afraid of water, which is shocking for the number of times that he has drowned throughout this series. And so there you go. Raw. Okay, Godzilla versus King Kong. Okay, size-wise, about equal. One of them's got heat breath. The other one is super agile because big ape. So he has all the climbing ability and whatnot of apes. And also, hand-to-hand, he's super fucking strong. Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. Okay, the Wolfman. Wild, feral, powerful, agile. Frankenstein, just big, strong, and hard to put down.
It fails at the movies.
Right, exactly. And so, in this case, it's a matter of, we have the supreme hunting machine of the universe, but one that's bound by a certain code of honor, of sport. Basically, it's a big fucking Rasta Klingon with a vagina mouth. What happens if we pit it against a genetically perfect feral animal killing machine that pretty much has a 2-item to-do list? Breed, murder. And they are interchangeable. And they can multitask. And that is what it really fucking should have come down to with this.
Well, I want to stop you there because that's where I want to go to with Jason.
I was just going to close up by saying, and unfortunately, we gave this over a decade in the franchise making idea to the Resident Evil guy.
Okay. Jason, you heard Sean sort of explain why we as a culture want to see Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, King Kong versus Godzilla. It's somewhere embedded in the back of our psyche. We want to see the unstoppable object versus the immovable force. So someone's going to write me and say I have that backwards. What I want you to do for me, we're going to do this out of order. We're going to turn this entire podcast upside down, all right? We're going to turn this motherfucker out. You hear what I'm saying? You ready?
Sure.
Jason. But
yes.
Where's the excitement there? I get all. We're gonna tear this mother down. We're gonna turn this mother out, and you go, yes. What are you, Vulcan?
Well, you're taking me off. You're taking me off in a different direction, and I just wanted to address that. You know what Sean was saying. To me, it's more of a what I like is better than what you like. You know, if I like Star Trek, it's better than Star Wars. If I like Lord of the Rings, Gandalf can kick Dumbledore's ass. How are we going to find out? Okay, let's stick them together. Okay?
Right.
That's all AVP is to me.
Basically.
Okay. So we're gonna do this.
Okay, now let's go with this.
Yes. All right. Very good.
Okay, I was excited. I get nothing.
Let's do this whole thing out of order. Instead of talking about the movies first and then talking about how we could have made them better or what would have made them better or why they failed on so many levels, I want to start off with Jason. I'm the good people at whatever studio produced these movies. I think it was 20th Century Fox. And I bring you into my office, and I dim the lights. I light a candle. I have you sit in my leather chair. I stroke my beard, and I say to you, Jason, you seem like a pretty cool fruit who really knows where his towel's at. I want you to do something for me. Now, you get very nervous, at which point you start pulling on your collar because you don't know where this is headed. And I say to you,
and you owe me, and you're supposed to give me a Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster if you call me a fruit, but that's okay.
You get 5 points for picking up that reference. I want you to take aliens and predators, and I want you to put them in a movie where they fight each other. Okay? And
okay.
Now, we all know what this, and that's kind of why I want to do this out of order, because we're gonna talk at length about why the studio has these conditions that they put on filmmakers. But I don't want to get into that just yet. I want to know if I just say to you, here's $1 million, or however, $15 million, whatever you need to make this movie. Here's your budget. Go make this movie. Make a lot of money. It's a summer blockbuster. Go. What do you do with that movie in 50 words or less? How does Jason maximize the Aliens versus Predator franchises when he mashes them together like so much peanut butter and jelly?
I want to take this someplace that they haven't seen, that the audience hasn't seen yet, and they've already seen the Predator on Earth. I don't want to bring the alien to Earth because that happens. That they're trying to do that in the future. The Weyland Corporation is trying to do that in the future. But we still need people. So what I do is have a human ship, starts out with that, discover a planet that's habitable, and when they land, they find out, oh shit, this is we're the aliens. This is the aliens' home planet. Okay, maybe throw some jungle in there. Fine, we're used to seeing that. But at the same time, having a group of predators come down to hunt. Okay, I want to keep them off Earth. So
would you say that was one of the critical failures of? Yeah, if you have more to say, that's fine. But would you say that was one of the critical failures of these two movies was that they insisted that they be on Earth?
The first one, no. I was actually fairly pleased with what they did with the first one. The second one, I thought it was a horrible mistake. Just the entire setting in a city. I mean, I saw why they did it that way, but that was a problem. Putting the aliens and in the sacrificial pyramid in the Antarctic, that had a kind of a Cthulhu feel to me, and I was fine with that because Antarctica might as well be another planet. Okay, but when they brought it to civilization, that's where I had an issue. Right.
Why not just put the damn pyramid in the jungle?
Well, they had them. They had alluded, of course, that the pyramid had writing that was Mayan, that was Indian, that was Egyptian. They were trying to make that maybe the mother civilization started in Antarctica and spread out to these different continents. So I had no problem with that.
I remember that part.
Thousands of years ago, the Antarctica was a temperate climate. It wasn't covered in ice.
Well, I know.
So it was in the jungle at one point.
But the thing is, it seems like such a long way to go just to cross off that one bit of continuity off the list that the predators hunt when the heat signature sets them off. As they said, the first Predator, they said the creature comes when it gets hot, and this season it grows hot. Predator 2, they're in the midst of a heat wave. Not that anybody ever wants to acknowledge anything about Predator 2, although they did try to get Adam Baldwin back for this movie. But instead of just having it be a jungle pyramid, you've got to contrive this whole thing where the predators laser blast their way down from orbit, make a tunnel, a goddamn tunnel, I'll get to that later, and you've got to somehow set off some kind of spreading heat signature from within the temple to signal the predators. Why not just in your script just set the damn temple in the jungle?
Really? That's your biggest issue with this? Your biggest issue is the setting? You're sort of hanging your hat on the big problem with this movie is Antarctica?
Oh, no, that's not the biggest issue.
Okay.
That's just the first one that I'm getting out of the way.
Okay, I don't want to run away from what I feel is, I think, the central talking point of this movie, which is why I asked Jason what he would do with it. And he gave me an interesting answer, one that I'm going to address now. Studio producers, studio executives, whenever they're making a movie about monsters, aliens, giant insects, whatever, Jason's absolutely right. They insist human beings be in the movie. It is not enough to just have your two main aliens be the focus. You've got to throw human beings in there. And in large degree, they have to carry the plot because you can't have aliens and predators in every scene of your movie. And in terms of structure and craft, I do understand where the studio execs are coming from. I think my problem is, and I have had this problem ever since I was a kid watching movies like this, is that, take Batman, for example. So much focus on Bruce Wayne, not enough Batman on screen. So much focus on Clark Kent, not enough Superman on screen, not enough Superman doing stuff. No one goes to these movies expecting to see Othello. No one goes to these movies thinking that this is going to be Saving Private Ryan or something like that. These are not going to be, extraordinarily well-acted, deep, thought-provoking movies. These are supposed to be exactly what I call the Avengers, thrill rides. These are supposed to be visually appealing. These should come across to the viewer like a pro wrestling match. Big, colorful creatures fighting it out, with stops in between for breath, and so that you can get up and take a piss. Okay? And what I'm fascinated by is the reliance on the human beings to carry the movie when they're not the main appeal. And I often wonder, is that one of the things that drags both of these movies down, is that the studio's insistence that the stars of the movie are not the stars of the movie. I have to make this reference for the people listening who are wrestling fans. It's the insistence that the stars of this thing are Batista and John Cena and not Daniel Bryan. Sorry, now I got that out of my system. But you know what I'm talking about. The reason people are going to see this movie is because they want to see predators fight aliens and vice versa. They do not care about the broad who manages to survive to the end. You don't know her, you don't care about her, and the movie doesn't change that in any way, shape, or form. Right or wrong, Jason?
Yes and no. I mean, the two main things, it's Alien versus Predator. You're right. That's what we want to see. But again, the studio's right. You need people in there. People, viewers care about other human beings. They're there to see the big monsters, the big nasties, but they want to see the people. In the first movie, I thought it was okay. I didn't necessarily. I cared more for the Scottish guy with the kids in Alien versus Predator who got killed. I cared a little bit more for the anthropologist or the archaeologist than I did the main character. But I didn't dislike her. I liked Wayland, who of course Bishop was. It's the same actor. I can't think of his name who played Bishop. I like the fact that he was there and why he was Yes, Lance Henriksen. Why he was there and why he was insistent on being there through the whole thing. I was okay with the people in that. In Requiem, I didn't give a rat's ass if any of those people, even Rickety Cricket, got killed.
I think that's why I wanted to ask you, how much is too much? Again, the studios tend to over-rely on human beings, and I'll tell you why they do it. They do it because it's cheaper. It is cheaper to film, if I'm going to do a monster movie, it is cheaper to film several scenes of you and Sean playing Magic the Gathering than it is for me to shoot a giant monster trying to eat one of you. The movie that I think captured the balance pretty well, where there was enough of everything to go around, and you got to know the characters well enough that you cared whether or not they'd make it to the end of the movie, was Pacific Rim. Somewhere out there, Jed Lucid is trying to either track me down to kill me, or he's cutting his own arm. In any case, hi Jed. But Pacific Rim, for all of its nonsense, managed to have a balance between the reason why you were there in the first place, which was to watch robots punch monsters, and a story that was about human beings trying to deal with their world coming to an end and how that would impact them. This is, I think, ultimately my problem with both of these two movies, and there's plenty that I like about them, which we'll also talk about in just a minute. But I wanted to kind of get this out of the way first, and that is, and really kick around the idea, and that's where I'm going to go over to Sean. How do you, without doing every movie like Pacific Rim, how do you find that balance between creating a movie where people give a shit about the human beings involved, while still giving you enough of why you got there and why you're there in the first place, enough of your stars, whichever they may be, monsters, aliens, robots, etc.?
You know, the really sad thing is, I want to just complain about the fact that Paul W.S. Anderson was chosen to direct this movie at all, and the fact that they went with the script that he wrote, which, by the way, I want to point out, those of you who have seen this, 8 years. 8 years. That's how long he spent writing and revising this script. This movie was 8 years of someone's effort. 8 years, and this is what we got. And you got to say this for the man. When he cocks something up, he at least doesn't cock it up the same way repeatedly. Because, you know, the kind of movie they're making here, you know what he basically made? He made the fucking first Resident Evil movie, swapped out a mansion with a big-ass underground bunker for a big underground ancient temple, swapped out awakened zombies for awakened aliens, swapped out his incredibly hot baby maker wife for Sanaa Lathan. Okay, as far as interesting acting goes, that's kind of a push. God, he even basically, the more I think about it, the more he basically made Resident Evil redeemable. Because you even have the cute little flashy CGI layout of the temple that shows where the humans are to make it look all video game-like. Except now, instead of it being the Red Queen's readout of the Hive, now it's the little Ardu-Hickey Omni tool of the Predator that's showing it popping up so they can track who's down there.
And he also blatantly ripped off a scene from Jurassic Park, you know, where John Hammond came to the dig site to pick up Alan Grant.
Oh God, yes, yeah, that too. The Italian archaeologist, swap out actually finding a velociraptor skeleton with basically being cuckolded because you thought you were about to find the remnants of an ancient civilization, and instead you dug up a Pepsi cap. And, oh, by the way, in case some of you managed to miss this little gem, he even killed Colin Salmon the same way. Jason, you've seen Resident Evil. You remember the first movie, the really awesome laser grid sequence where the bald black guy is the last man standing, and he's standing there, and the lasers that are coming out from the wall and running towards him just form into a grid and just chop him up, the one that Paul W.S. Anderson in that movie ripped off from Cube. Yeah, same thing in this one, except it's a net. It's a big razor-sharp retractable net, and when I realized what was going on, I should have just said, motherfucker.
Yeah, but Sean, I remember that scene from Resident Evil, but I do want to say, anytime you ask me about that movie, what I saw, any of those movies, I'm going to say, I don't remember. I was staring at Alice.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that. And, you know, points to Paulie Boy for this. You know, if you're going to plagiarize your own shit, at least you plagiarized one of your two good movies, the other one being Mortal Kombat, and I'm pretty sure he probably left that one alone just because he couldn't figure out a way to work half that shit into this one. But the fact is a lot of it, unfortunately, also has the same problem with the Resident Evil sequels, and that's the way that it's shot. Yeah, there's cool shit happening. Too fucking bad you can't see any of it. It's in-depth, jumpy shooting that lacks the fact that in Alien or Aliens or the first Predator movie, or even the second Predator movie, you could at least tell what was going on. Anderson does not shoot action well.
I was going to say, that's probably my biggest complaint about these movies is that they're just shot poorly. They're lit poorly, they're shot poorly. You have half the time, you know, the whole thing of while you're there, you can barely see it.
Well, and as complaints
which is a problem with this, which is a huge problem because these are not cheap movies. A lot of money went into these. So why the hell were they shot poorly? Why are there so many problems?
And you see, you know what?
I can say that about a lot of movies.
That's one good thing that I can at least say about Resident Evil. At least for the most part, a couple of shots here and there aside, when it's time for big shootouts or big fight sequences, you can see what's going on. It's at least intelligently shot. Same thing with
watching Alice.
But the other thing about this movie is the fact that it is the most glaring, obvious, damning proof that when you try to do these franchises and you try to rely on CGI, the obvious difference in quality and effort between just doing everything with pixels and trying to do things practically is so fucking apparent. And the few times when it shows up, it's so bad that it just really takes you right out of it, as opposed to actually just seeing somebody in a suit, which thankfully the Predators are for the most part. But so often they're trying to make these fight scenes so elaborate that, like I said, I just want to see a movie come along one of these days where the law of the jungle is if we can't do it practically, we're not going to try to do it. We're just going to come up with another idea. Because in this case, several times, he just kind of defaults to that, and especially does it while shooting the action sequences, which just makes a lot of them that much worse. So it's not even fun to watch.
No, it can get that was the thing, especially with the second one, which I do want to talk about as we move on to the podcast. But I remember watching these this weekend, and there was stuff that I really wanted to see happen in the second movie, and because of the way that it was shot and because it was so dimly lit, it was very hard to make out, and that definitely lessened my enjoyment of the movie. It was like, well, this just looks like gobbledygook, and I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea what's happening here. Go ahead.
And as a minor gripe before we move on, do we even want to discuss the slide of friendship?
The slide of friendship? Oh.
You know what I'm talking about. You basically took the Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite ugly motherfucker, and you reduced him to being the fucking luck dragon from the Never-Ending Story. I felt like there should be inspiring music playing in the background, and Sanaa Lathan should be pumping her fist into the air going, yeah!
All right. Now let's...
surprisingly, I didn't have that big of an issue with that. The problem at the very end that I had an issue with, after, they did the bonding and the burning her flesh with the alien blood, is he gave her the magic predator spear. Okay, she's got proof of extraterrestrial life. What does she do with it?
Well, actually, my bigger question to that would be, I would wonder if maybe in the back of her mind she was thinking, really, you pussy-faced assholes? You gave me you have a spaceship that's just going to keep me warm? It's going to stave off the hypothermia? Huh?
Wait, how the hell did she get home?
Can I eat the magic stick? Can that sustain me? Can I melt it down? No. God damn it! How about a lift?
All right, there are a bunch. Here's one of the things I hate it when they screw little things up. Like, okay, the Predator in the first Predator movie, probably in the second, I don't remember because I've tried to drive it from my brain. If you don't have a weapon, the Predator doesn't attack you. Okay, at the first of the movie, he kills somebody. The Predator kills somebody who does not have a weapon. Okay, that's a problem. The buildings, the station, looks great in 2004. It's 100 years old in Antarctica. It's not standing anymore in real life. The Predators leave their Predator planet in this nice jungle, and they land in Antarctica, and they don't have any cold weather gear. But really, they can wear the same stuff. That's awesome. I mean, these are little things, but they're kind of annoying.
Yeah,
actually, I have my big. Well, hang on. My biggest problem with let me go ahead and explain the plot of this movie, such as it was, so that we can talk about it individually, both Aliens versus AVP and then Aliens versus Predator Requiem. Okay, so the plot of the first movie is that Lance Henriksen, who plays Wayland, has come to realize through his scientist that there's a temple in Antarctica that he wants, and it's evidence of alien life, and he wants to go explore it, claim it as his own, et cetera, et cetera. So he gathers up a team of people, the star of which is someone who's experienced in cold weather areas, et cetera. So she's the tour guide, and then you've got archaeologists, you've got this and that, you've got various scientists, et cetera, et cetera. Now, at the same time that this is happening, coincidentally, which I have a huge problem with, there are predators coming down for their rite of passage. And what you come to realize over the course of the movie is that in order to get their shoulder mounts, they have to go to this temple, wake up the alien queen. The alien queen then produces a bunch of face huggers, and what's supposed to happen is there's a bunch of human sacrifices for the face huggers to jump on and produce aliens. They go and hunt the aliens, presumably carve up their skulls and spines, and then they get their shoulder mounts. Like you would do. None of that got through. What'd you say?
I said it's basically a Predator bar mitzvah.
I was going with Native American, but sure, bar mitzvah works as well.
I figured it'd be something material.
The whole thing goes to plaid when the humans, as they're exploring the temple, happen to find the chest that has the 3 prize shoulder mounts, and they decide they're going to take them, which fucks up the hunt, and the predators get all pissy about it, and then start to kill the humans to get the guns back. Meanwhile, the queen is producing aliens at an exponential rate. Here is my problem, and I'll just get reactions to this. My first problem is that if the humans hadn't decided on that particular day to go explore the tunnel, how did the predators? What were the predators going to do to get host bodies for the face huggers? I mean, were they waiting? Was that part of it? Was they were just waiting for hundreds and hundreds of years for someone to show up at this temple? Like, we haven't had a new predator hunter in a very long time. We hope these humans find the stupid temple at some point. I mean, I don't. It would have made a little bit more sense had they showed up with hostages. You know what I mean? My other problem with this is this isn't a very well thought out plan, because the alien queen produces eggs in 1,000,000 to 1. In the course of an hour-and-a-half movie, she laid 100 eggs. There was maybe 5 or 6 people in total with this thing, but and then only 3 predators. Just the math for me doesn't work out here. So even if they had, let's say, half a dozen human hosts that they were going to use to make aliens, then now they've got a half a dozen aliens that they can go kill. Yay! They are now men, right? What about all the other face huggers?
I think this is why they tried to include the bit in the second movie where they made sure to point out that no, multiple face huggers a face hugger can gestate multiple eggs in one human.
I thought that was a trick, though, that only the pred alien could do, which was gross, by the way. But I guess you're right, because I guess face huggers did it too. But still, are these things evolving? And this is my whole problem that Hollywood has never really addressed with the aliens. Is they just sort of say, now the aliens can do this, and now the aliens can do that, and they don't, and there's no consistency, there's no continuity, there's just, I want to do this with the aliens, so now the aliens now the aliens can dance, and now the aliens can fly and have heat vision. I mean, it gets ridiculous after a while. You know what I mean, Jason?
Well, yeah, and you're thinking about the alien dancing. I was picturing Spaceballs.
That's okay. Every time I see the alien queen chasing the black broad through the snow, all I think is my friend yelling out while we were watching the movie, "That's a mad T-Rex on the loose." This is you guys were talking about how Paul W.S. Anderson was ripping off his own movie. We felt like that entire scene, they just took bits of Jurassic Park and pasted imagery onto it.
Yeah, I didn't put that together, but looking back, yes.
It's like, hey, wait a minute, that's a rip. That was my major problem with this, is that they could have shoehorned all of these things in there and never really thought it through. Because why? Well, who's going to, what 3 losers are going to sit down and talk about this movie and think this through, right? So I guess that was the mentality, but still, it kind of goes back to my initial question. If you're tasked with making a movie, you really should take the time to actually try to make it good, don't you think?
Well, if the people, if the crew wasn't there to investigate the pyramid, here's what we could have had: the predators coming down, standing at the base of the pyramid, looking at each other, going, "Did you bring the people?" No, I thought John was going to bring the people. No, sorry, I forgot the people. I was supposed to bring the chips, okay?
And then head the aliens, you always make me bring the people. I'm sick of bringing the people. They scream, they yell, they stink. I'm tired of it. You bring the people next time.
I like to imagine that whole exposition dump flashback sequence. I like to imagine that there's a deleted scene somewhere out there in which the teenage predator, freshly back from the hunt, is now being set down and being given a subtitled clicky talk about hair growing in funny places and starting to have weird thoughts about the females.
Wow, that silence is deafening.
I'll admit it, that's still better than 99% of what's in this movie.
I got nothing there. All right, so to finish up the plot of this thing, so they steal the shoulder mounts, and the predators then, in the midst of doing their hunt, now are pissed off and are starting to kill the humans until they give back their guns. This was obviously promotional work by the Republican Party. Moving right along. Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy the quiche. I'll be here all week. So what ends up happening?
Called the right hook.
Which is going away shortly, but that's a whole other announcement. So as the movie rolls along, they start to figure out that, hey, wait a minute, if we give them back their guns, they'll stop trying to kill us. And by the way, there's giant ants running around this temple trying to kill us. So we should probably team up with the Predator. And the predator sort of, and then the other two predators that are down for the hunt manage to get killed in the middle of all this. So the last remaining human teams up with the last remaining predator, and at this point they're just trying to get the fuck out of the temple. They are surrounded by, and I go back to this. How did that many aliens end up being produced? There weren't that many humans. But never mind. So moving right along. So you have this exponentially growing population of aliens from over the border, and they give chase, and then at the end they blow the temple up. The alien queen manages to survive it. It kills the predator. It chases her to the ends of the earth. She throws an anchor on it, throws it over the thing. It goes into the cliff, into the briny deep. Movie's over. Alrighty. So the predators then go to pick up their dead body and go, well, this was a terrible waste of time. All three of these guys failed their hunt, and they gave her the stick, and then they leave her for dead in the snow. And there's your movie, folks. This, of course, sets up the second part of the story, which I guess was the intention all along. Somewhere along the line, this last remaining predator, and this is also inconsistent within its own universe. Yeah, because if you look at Alien 3, when the dog alien got up on Sigourney Weaver and sniffed her butt and realized, hey, wait a minute, you're carrying mommy. Sort of an sort of an esoteric thing there, but you're like, hey, wait a minute, mommy's in there. You're carrying a queen. I can't bite you. And then it went away, and then Ripley got all upset, like, why can't you finally kill me? In this movie, somehow or other, a facehugger managed to impregnate this predator, and yet the queen killed him anyway. Didn't make any sense. And the other aliens were trying to kill him. Why didn't they sniff his butt and realize that there was a queen in there? But whatevs, or rather a pred-alien. So, the very end of the movie, Predator's dead. Despite the fact that he's dead, facehugger, the little baby alien, burst out of his chest, and it shows it's got kind of the Predator face on it. Any last words about this? Because essentially, that's the movie. It's, as Jason said on our last podcast, it's teenagers running around a house as a guy with a chainsaw comes after them. Only it's multiple guys with a chainsaw that, and they're not really so much getting you with a chainsaw as they are just hissing and biting at you. So, Jason, you first. Anything left to say about this movie?
Well, no, except for I absolutely hated the pred-alien. I mean, because every time a human was impregnated with an egg, it didn't, the alien didn't pop out and have human characteristics. So why does it have alien characteristics
at this point? Like the aliens didn't know how to balance a checkbook or jack up their credit cards or whatever, right? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Not know how to change a tire on their own car, that sort of thing.
Right. That's about it. That's about all the adaptation was. Just that it was bipedal.
Really, the alien never really changed. No matter, here's the weird part. When it popped out of the dog, it had dog characteristics, which was kind of weird. But when it popped out of the human, it looked like every other version of the alien that ever was. So again, sometimes when it pops out of a host, it carries on the characteristics. Other times it doesn't. It's weird, don't you think?
You know what? I would have loved to have seen Gilbert Gottfried in one of these movies.
Why is that?
See, if I could do a Gilbert Gottfried, I would have right there, and it would have been hysterical, but I cannot do a Gilbert Gottfried, thankfully.
I can do a Gilbert Gottfried, but not when I'm completely stuffed up with post-nasal drip. All right. Sean, speaking of post-nasal drip, anything else you want to say about this movie?
Yeah, fuck you. About
actually, that sums the movie up really well.
No, actually,
you, Hollywood.
No, you know what? Jason's got a point, because when I found out this was actually getting made, I was genuinely excited about this because I loved Alien. I loved Predator. two great tastes that should taste great together. Oh my God, you gave me to who? You, wait, why? Why you do this? What?
Because.
Why would you give this franchise to this chuckler? That's about a step or two above Uwe Boll. Except the only thing I will give Paul W.S. Anderson credit for in this one is, yes, he plagiarizes his own work on a Tim Burtonian level, but I will give him credit for this being one time he did show a little more restraint than Tim Ack, and that is he didn't try to shoehorn his wife in there. So, actually, now that I think about it, no, fuck you for that too, Paul, because this would have been one movie that I think Mila might have actually improved.
Okay. So, as I said, the movie ends with the Pred alien being born, and that's where we pick up with the second movie. None of the original cast from Aliens vs. Predator are in the second one. It's a brand new series of people. And if you even slightly, somewhat, maybe cared about the girl, who survives, your one lone survivor girl, because, horror trope, boy, this movie went out of its way to make sure you did not give two fucks about anybody else in this cast. Holy cow.
Why is it called AVP Requiem? What significance does Requiem have? Did they just throw it in there because somebody cracked open their Word a Day calendar that day?
Well, it sounds cool. Yeah.
Isn't that what the monks say in Monty Python?
Monty
the
Python
Holy
and
Grail?
the Holy Grail, yes.
Arascori Requiem. Whack. And I'm sure Paul W.S. Anderson thought that was funny and said, yeah, Requiem, go with it. And if he could have had an alien smashing a 2x4 over his head.
No, fuck wasn't behind the Requiem.
Okay.
They
In any case,
found they found a couple of dipshits named the Strauss brothers who thought they could polish this turd.
So, now, I mean, this is it, though. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem was Hollywood studios' wet dream. They really wanted to see the aliens running around town, destroying things, eating people. Everything you see in this movie, or don't see because it's poorly lit, everything you see in this movie is exactly what Hollywood wanted. They wanted to see the aliens ripping and tearing and shredding an entire town. I understand, and this is in some of the research that we looked at, they couldn't necessarily put it in, like, Chicago or Los Angeles or New York because that might have made the news. and they couldn't then, and they couldn't end the movie the way they did by nuking the whole site because someone would have noticed if they had nuked Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York. So they couldn't. So they had to find an out of the way place so that it could be. You could still see those things. There was enough civilization for the aliens to tear down and destroy, but not enough where if you nuked it, anyone would give a shit. So your movie takes place in Gunderson, Colorado. And what happens is the Pred alien kills all the predators on the spaceship and causes it to crash. Now, I'm going to break in talking about the plot just so that I can ask this question. The predators seem to have had a vested interest in making sure aliens don't wipe out the entire population of Earth, for whatever the reasons are. That is illustrated by what the predator does when it gets to Earth. It starts cleaning up the mess like a hazmat worker, right? It's like, oh Christ, we got to get the cat back in the bag here. So he's melting things and he's cleaning things up. One of my biggest problems with this was, and I think Sean actually brought this up in the last podcast, but I'm going to go over to Jason. One predator was sent to clean up a mess created by a multitude of aliens running amok. Like, they didn't send down the entire damage control team. And let me go a step further with that and say, if they were going to send one Predator, shouldn't they have gone out of their way to make it more Rambo-like? Like they kind of show it. They show him kind of gearing up, and the knife goes here, and the gun goes there, and the thing goes over that way, and then we tie up our boots and check the compass. But it should have been more dramatic and more Rambo-like, don't you think? Like, if they were going to say, and then they should have had him, walking past a bunch of other Predators and, punching them in the face and, no, only, but don't go by yourself, fuck off, I'm the baddest Predator of all, I can take out the all. You see what I'm saying? There's no reason why they only sent one, and then the one guy isn't anything special. You know what I mean?
I like to think they sent
he should have been Chuck Norris. The Chuck Norris of Predators is what he should have been. One of the things I didn't like about when he left is that he's on the ship and he's on his planet, which is obviously a hot planet. He puts his picks his fighting helmet up, puts his fighting helmet on, and then flies however long it takes him to get to Earth. I think it would get sweaty in there. Then the ship lands. If this is a highly advanced civilization, don't you think they would have developed a soft landing? I think it's a problem these ships slam into the surface of the planet. But, one Predator, I don't necessarily have a huge problem with that.
The Predator should have developed, if you can just throw anything out there, use any sci-fi trope you want, they should have done a wormhole. He should have pressed a button, and a hole opens up through space-time, and he walks through it, and he's in the middle of, J.C. Penney's. And runs through the mall. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just a little silly here. Maybe he ends up. Maybe instead he ends up in the forest. But you know what I mean?
I also can't help but
he slingshot around the sun.
Let's also point out that they sent the Predator that has the weird thing about liking to burn things. He really likes to play with the dissolving chemicals. All throughout the movie, I got the impression that this was the weird teenage Predator that everybody would kind of back away from in class in high school when he would start click giggling during lab sessions whenever they would break the acids out.
See, I didn't get that at all. I got this is the government worker. This is the guy. He's drawing. He works for the Predator government, and he's in environmental services, and he's on the midnight shift, which is why he's by himself, and he gets the call hey, we've got a facehugger outbreak on Dirt Planet 90210, and oh Jesus Christ, them again. Every time with these fucking people. All right, let me get my shit together. That's how that came across. And as I'm watching,
if they would have had the translation, if they'd had the translation for all the clicks, it would have been, God damn it, short straw again. Okay, these assholes are going to pay when I get home. Somebody owes me a beer. That's what all that was.
Instead of having him gear up, putting his weapons on, they should have had him grabbing a lunch pail, putting on a hard hat, calling his wife. I'm going to be late. Yeah, I have to go to Dirt Planet 90210.
Technically, he did put on a hard hat. Technically, yeah.
You are technically right. But you know what I mean? If they were going to... It was just so, mishandled. I'm making a lot of jokes about it, but I really did want to see... If he was going to be a lone alien badass, it would have been fine. But they didn't do enough with it. They just he put some weapons on, and then he left, and then he got there. And then this leads to my second problem. They set him up as kind of the hero. He's there on Earth to save the Earthlings from the aliens and make sure the aliens get killed before they wreck the planet. Except that he spends about a third of the movie killing humans, too, with no regard. He isn't just killing humans that are in the midst of, being eaten by aliens and, there's no saving that one. Or one that's got, he should have had the thing that Egon carries from Ghostbusters. Whoop, you've got an alien in you. Bang. Something along those lines. Instead, Sean's laughing and just like, wow, if Mark ever makes a movie, it's going to have every reference to everything in it.
But it's simply something that just pops up when encountering a human that says mostly harmless.
Right.
Well, except for the fact that this is the Predator. The Predator's people have come to Earth for centuries to kill us. So, I mean, what's the big deal?
That's not why he was there. But that's not why he was there.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not
matter.
I'm not trying to make any rhyme or reason to this. I mean, predators are used to killing us. Why not?
No, you even said it earlier. If this is to remain consistent within its own universe, the predators come to hunt, and they do not kill unarmed people. He's throwing ninja stars at pretty young girls and shit for no good reason.
Okay, all right, okay. Excellent point. I was viewing this guy as kind of like Tackleberry from Police Academy. He just shoots everything.
You know what?
That's who they sent. They sent Tackleberry.
You know what? If it bleeds, we can kill it.
I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, we've lost Mark.
So how you doing, Sean?
I'm just picturing from Police Academy 1, Predator's got the hat on, he's firing the gun in the dark. Surprise! Good night, everybody. We'll see you in a week. Anyway.
Everyone, if it bleeds, we can kill it has gone right out the window. We have moved on to it looked at me funny, gonna kill it.
Yeah, this was one of those movies where nobody was careful.
Mark, I got it. No, you don't need to worry about it because you I'm sure, and if you haven't, I'm sure Jason has, you've seen an episode or two of South Park in your time. No, this is just a Predator equivalent to it's headed right for us.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, it was like they tried to make him a badass, but I felt like this Predator was more of a bungler. It was like you're there to kill the aliens, and like you're accidentally killing humans for no good reason.
He's interplanetary pest control. He was.
Look, if you send in a pest control, we have in Florida, there's a big palmetto bug problem, otherwise known as roaches. So, if you call out the exterminator and you say, "Hey, we have roaches and we have ants in the house," they don't then shoot your daughter in the face too. Like, well, it was coming right for me. I'm sorry, I don't understand. We tried to get everything in the house.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not how.
Yeah, John Goodman at least had a little bit of restraint. Little bit. He tried to limit himself to the fuckers.
Okay, so I think we've sufficiently talked through the idea that this movie makes little to no sense and is just, a weak setup for what should have been a fun premise. Let's talk about the stock wooden characters that nobody cares about. Jason?
Horrible. Okay. The two characters the human characters at the beginning, Cletus and Leon, the dad and son, who were out in the woods hunting, whatever. And the aliens attack the dad. Okay, the son sees that. It's traumatic. It's horrible. And then this movie does the one thing you're never supposed to do. It killed the fucking kid.
Yep.
I have a serious problem with that. If you're not going to kill Newt from Aliens, who I think I wanted to die, don't kill this kid that I just met. There's a serious problem with that. The main characters, the pizza boy who got his ass kicked, and his older brother who's a convict who just got put out of jail. I didn't care. The only people I cared about in this movie was the little girl whose mom came back from Iraq or wherever, and her dad. I guess I cared for the mom a little bit, but the dad and the little girl, and the dad got killed right off the bat. So yeah, the cardboard characters were horrible. They introduced way too many of them, which is a problem in a lot of movies. It just stick with a main group of characters. It's like on the original, like on Alien. Okay, you had very few characters in an enclosed space. We got to know each and every one of them and felt a little something when each of them died. And I was happy when most of these characters died.
Indeed.
I
think
I just didn't care because then every time someone died, Zeke the Predator showed up, and I was left once more with what's with you and the burning things.
You're really stuck on this.
He's got a weird thing about this, whether it's necessary or not. Think about when he first finds the two bodies in the woods, when he finds the father and the son. Okay, I will admit, the ones in the pool, I kind of get that. You're wanting to burn them just in case maybe they've been impregnated. You can look at these two. In fact, you do look at these two, and you can see the chest burster has already popped out. And actually, with your heat vision, you should really be able to tell if they're still in condition. But still, he just, for some reason, just feels compelled to pull out the weapons-grade Pepsi Blue and decide to just dump the snozberry juice all over the corpses. And I just kind of sit there and go, is that really necessary? You're not even doing this because of protocol, are you? You're just doing this for kicks. I don't even think you were really sent here on assignment. I'm starting to think this is just a weekend off for you. No, they didn't send an exterminator. They basically sent Milton to get him to stop asking about the damn stapler.
See, I completely disagree. I feel like the predators who are intelligent species, more intelligent than Earthlings, don't want it to get out. Look, as we all know from every science movie ever created since the dawn of time, even Ed Wood told us that every alien species in the world, including the xenomorphs, are more intelligent than Earthlings. Okay? And so we don't want the Earthlings to get all crazy and know that there's aliens out there. So they don't want to leave any evidence that shows anything that might tip the Earthlings off that there's aliens out there. So he's running around and he's basically trying to eliminate all traces that the aliens and predators were ever there in the first place. Which goes back to the original thing about the predator, which is if he gets caught, if he gets caught and he's going down, he nukes the area so that there's no evidence left to check. Go ahead.
But it never occurs to the predator that somebody is going to notice that anyway.
Well, again, we go back to he's a government worker, and they have a certain training, and he's just following protocol. Look, Sean, policies and procedures dictate that when you're cleaning up an environmental mess, you leave no traces of said environmental mess behind. You don't get to pick and choose.
But he doesn't bother stopping to think that maybe, say, I don't know, setting off the big thermonuclear explosion on the ship is going to attract some attention and maybe a couple of people with a camera phone? Or maybe somebody is going to...
Why would he care? Why would he care?
I'm assuming he would just assume it was an explosion.
Okay, if he's at home on Predator Planet, and knocks a glass of Kool-Aid over on the white carpet, there's going to be problems. Okay, but he's on Earth. He shouldn't care. We're not. We're subspecies to him.
Yeah.
Or her. We're being very sexist here.
Last word on this.
Scratch that.
Go ahead, Sean.
I've already established that Ralph here saw the leprechaun and he told him to burn things. So I'm just going to figure that Cushy Face Wiggum just also has a thing for making stuff go boom.
Okay.
They just can't fly anywhere.
Here's the problem with this whole movie. As we said about the first one, it relies heavily on it has to rely heavily on human beings, and human beings having to be interesting enough for you to care about as they are, systematically killed off. You don't spend enough time with any of the characters in this one, and the time that you do spend with them, it doesn't get you invested in. Like, did anyone care if whatever Pasquale died? And the mom, I guess the mom or the stepmom, whatever. Like, I barely understood her story. Was she the stepmom, or was she just the mom that went into the military and was gone for a while, and so the daughter bonded with the dad and was like, "I'm angry at you, Mom, for being in the military." I'm asking because the movie isn't particularly clear on this, because they introduce those characters and then you never see them again for like the next 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. You spend a lot of time with the pizza kid, who's getting bullied by other people and tossed in the pool and shit. You get to know a little bit about his whore girlfriend, who then gets hit with a ninja star later on in the movie. And there's a lot of time. And could someone tell me why there was a subplot about, like, the idiot sheriff versus the smart con? Like, did we really need this? Why was there a message in this movie that cops are dumb, cons are smart? Jason?
The cops weren't likable. I mean, I have a serious problem with the entire sheriff's department, because they were the law enforcement in a town. That doesn't happen. The sheriff's department is the law enforcement in a county, which is just another stupid little mistake that's made. I don't know. I hated the character of Dallas. I also hated the character of Morales because, like you said, he was an idiot. And Dallas, he was a smooth, cool guy.
Did you also get that feeling he was going to turn into, not Charles Napier, help me out here, Sean, the sheriff from Rambo? Brian Dennehy.
Brian Dennehy.
When Pascal walks in frame and he's just like, "What are you doing back from prison?" I'm like, "Is this going to?" Like, very first time I saw this, I'm like, "Is this going to turn into First Blood?" He's going to be like, "Why don't you let me give you a ride out of town?" Which I'm sure he wished by the end of that movie he had taken. And he's just like, "No, welcome back, old con friend." It's like, it's kind of odd. Sean, any thoughts here any final thoughts here about this completely just glossed over cast of cannon fodder?
You know what? Trying to make me care about this cast in this movie is about like some PETA nut job who is a few McNuggets short of a Happy Meal coming up to me while I'm at Carl's Jr. holding the face of a cow up in mine and screaming at me, look at what you're eating! It has a face now! It has a face! You can't eat it because it has a face! And my reaction to that, just as it is to this movie, would be just simply look them square in the eye and quietly take the biggest fucking bite of my $5 burger that I can. Because that's about the equivalent to how much of a squiddling little fuck I give. I have no reason to give a shit. I mean, my God, at least even in Predator 2, I was given half reason to give a shit about those characters, even if they were, stock, standard, early 90s caricatures. In this movie, no such luck. Even the hot blonde is really pretty generic.
Yeah.
I mean,
let me say this about the movie. I love the idea of aliens. This is the last word I'm going to say on this, and then I'll let Jason have the last word, and then I'll let you close up. In case I've missed anything here with this wonderful movie. I love Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. I love the concept of it. I'm with the studio. I thought it would be a fun idea to see the aliens running amok in town. I wish there had been more of that. Instead, if I want to see something like that, I have to go see Gremlins or Gremlins 2, whichever one is where the Gremlins take over the town.
Gremlins. Don't see Gremlins 2 for any reason.
But that's kind of what I was looking for. And you got to see some of that, but I don't think there was enough. They don't get to it. You know, I remember Kevin Smith famously talking about the script for Mallrats and the studio, and in the studio telling him, you know, there was this whole backstory and everything else. It was like, for God's sakes, just get to the mall. That's the problem with this movie. It takes too long to get to the mall. It takes too long for them to set up that the town was being overrun by aliens. The way that it should have happened was there should have been, like, not just a handful of face huggers. There should have been like a tank full of them. You know what I mean? There should have been just like one level of the ship was just a massive breeding area for face huggers, you know, or have it just be eggs, you know, just like eggs they have in cold storage, you know, eggs on ice. And when the ship crashed, right, you know, with the heating and everything up, the eggs all hatch, and just the whole ship, just like, you know, just imagine a carcass full of cockroaches, and like you smash it on the ground, and the thing just burst, and you just see an army of bugs coming out of it. That's how this movie should have started. The ship crash, you know, the face hugger. Sorry, I keep calling it face hugger. The chest burster pops out of the Predator, runs around, kills everybody on the ship. The ship crashes. The thing blows, and you just see hundreds of face huggers running out of this, scurrying out like cockroaches, and jumping on people in town. That should have been how this started. And then you go to the government, like, fuck, shut this town down. We gotta quarantine everything. Nothing gets out alive, you know. And then send the Predator down there, and then, you know, have him doing the Rambo thing. He's the badass alien who's going to take them all down. And when he gets there, the aliens are in the midst of tearing this town apart. Unfortunately, it takes, you know, and then center it on one family. The humans should have been one family that they were focused on, and, you know, and the aliens kind of chasing them around. And you could have had the thing where the guy comes, you know, they should have taken the mom, who was, you know, ex-army, and Pasquale should have been the dad, who's back home from prison. You know, and their whole story is, bah, we hate you because you went to prison. Well, blah, you were in the army and I didn't like it, so I stole bread. 24601. And that was all the story you needed. Instead, they had the you know, the subplots running in all these different directions that it took away from, again, the central focus of what it should have been. But if they had done that, I think you would have had a much tighter, more fun movie, and certainly more of what I wanted to see in this thing, which was, again, I go back to the same thing. I wanted to see aliens fuck a town up. And
you know, given what you just said, the next movie. I mean, let's take the ending of the movie and completely wipe out the bomb, wipe out the nuke. Given what you just set up, how cool would the next movie have been? It would have been like The Walking Dead, but instead of zombies, they were aliens. And instead of Rick and the group, it was, you know, a few humans and predators walking around a completely devastated dystopian America, killing aliens.
Yeah. You know, and they're so worried about,
nice.
You know, the continuity of the alien. So what? Why can't this be Earth 2176? And the Earth that's in the Aliens movies is Earth 2177.
Even better idea. Well, and that's kind of the sum of the whole thing, is really the fact that, you know, neither movie, speaking very, very generally, is exactly a bad premise. Actually, they're both premises with that actually have some possibilities about them. It's just that they've so ineptly executed by people that clearly had no idea what audiences actually wanted to see and actually cared about. It's the same thing that hampers Transformers. The fuck do I give about Shia butt fuck, and Megan Fox and whatever the name of the blonde bint in the third movie was.
And their awful parents.
Yeah. When
the parents were horrible.
What'd you say? Oh,
I said the parents were horrible.
Oh, God, yes. But why should I care about any of that when I have big fuck-off robots that I want to watch beat the piss out of each other?
Yeah. Oh, my God. You know, in terms of talking about taking too long to get to the mall, the first Transformers movie is ridiculous. Like an hour of that movie goes by before you see Optimus Prime and the gang, and it's like, it's a great scene because you've been waiting so long to see, like, finally, and they roll in, and then they spend the next scene, like, accidentally breaking stuff on the front lawn. It's like, oh, this isn't what I paid my money for.
Yeah, luckily it's a 2-fucking-hour-plus movie.
Jason, any final words about really anything? This is going to be the last show that you're going to be on with us for a while. Hopefully we'll get to have you back again for something after I take my hiatus. But we've third podcast. We talked about aliens. We talked about predators. We talked about Alien versus Predators. Maybe think about any one of these movies that haven't been discussed that you want to bring up now.
Well, the only thing that I want to bring up, really, and it's about the last movie that we watched, or that we talked about, Pasquale, who played Dallas, who I didn't care about, and whatever. We've all left out this fact. He's got this alien gun, and I hate it when this happens in a movie. Somebody's got an alien device, usually a weapon, and they know how to fire it. Okay, so he's got this alien gun, he's shooting it, and he yells at his human companions, "Get to the chopper." What? No love for that?
Yeah, I totally didn't think of that.
All right, yeah, that's one. Two, the Predator's whip is pretty badass. Why didn't he whip that out the first? Why didn't he whip that out? Why didn't he whip that out the first time he saw an alien? I don't know. I love the Predator's
And it would have been
whip.
funny if he'd actually said, "Excuse me while I whip this out."
Yes. Or while he was whipping it around, or if while he was whipping it around, this huge alien, the Predator alien, stood to face him, then he pulled out a gun and shot him.
There needed to be a scene, and it's so cliche now, but it would have been awesome in this context. You know the scene I'm talking about because it happens in like every action movie now. It's a long pan, and it's the hero fighting just an army of villains, and he's punching and shooting and kicking, and it's one long pan in slow motion, right? You know what I'm talking about? They needed to do that with it. The Predator needed to. The problem was the introduction of the Predator was too long and drawn out. He needed to kind of show up. There needed to be a bunch of humans in peril, and the Predator just sort of pops down, jumps in the middle, and bam, long pan shot of him taking out aliens left and right and acid going everywhere. And it would have been great if he had turned around and like half the humans are now like covered in acid. They're like, "What the fuck?" And he was like, "Sorry."
Oh,
Nothing.
My opinion, my last word on this. The first movie has Tommy Flanagan in it, who is one of my favorite actors from Sons of Anarchy. So that was cool. I got to see Chib shoot stuff.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't think of much else that's nice to say about that movie. I really, the only other thing that I would throw in there is, I know the whole idea is the Predators have to earn their gun. I get that and everything. Fair point to that. Yeah, by the way, guys, why don't you think it's making it a bit obscenely, unfairly difficult that you're making the teenagers go up against the things with concentrated acid blood with short-range melee weapons that mount on the forearm?
I don't think it occurred to anybody.
There's
You'll notice that as the movies progress with the aliens, they spew less acid.
There's
Like in Aliens,
that,
in Aliens, if you shot them, acid went everywhere, and then like movies, as the movies moved on, there was less of that.
You know what? There's appropriate level of challenge to a task like this, and then there's just looking at everything before you and just going, "You fucking dick." I mean,
okay. I think we've sufficiently beaten this to death. Jason, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I want to thank you. You'll have to let us know what other burning desires you have, what other kinds of things you want to talk about, so that we can have you on again as a guest. Sometime.
Okay, I'm probably the hugest. I'm probably one of the hugest Star Trek nerds in existence. Just throwing that out there.
I think if Sean ever takes a hiatus, or maybe even if he wants to do it, I just got the entire Star Trek, the original 6 Star Trek movies on Blu-ray, plus whatever documentary about the captains that went with it. I had been considering just doing the Search for Spock trilogy. You know, Khan, The Search for Spock, and then The Voyage Home. Not sure. I haven't decided which way is the best way to handle Star Trek, whether I should just focus on those 3 movies, which with its own kind of story, or do the entire 6 movies.
No. The entire 6 movies are okay. 1, 5. I'm not a big fan of 6. A lot of people love 6. I'm not a big fan of 6. Yeah, but
I think the way to
2, 3, and 4.
I think the way to do it is to do 2 different podcasts. One is just focusing on 2, 3, and 4, and that whole story, and then do a separate one of, you know, just so they're acknowledged, 1, 5, and 6. Maybe we'll do that later this summer. What do you got going on in your world? What do you want to plug, and how can people find you?
People can find me at From the Shadows. Just type that into Google. It's a weird URL, but it'll come up if you type it into Google. My email address is shadowpeoplebook@gmail.com. Or you can look up my stuff on Amazon. I just also on Facebook have just launched an author page today. If anybody wants to come and like my page, I'm going to post everything about my writing when things come out, personal events, whenever I shave, things of that nature. Anyway, just look me up.
All right. Again, thank you for being on the show, sir.
It's really an honor.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Sean, why don't you tell the people what's going on with you, and I don't mean everything, or whatever it is that you feel like sharing with people so that they know what the next 2 shows, what's going on with the next 2 shows, what's going on with Long Road to Ruin, etc.
Okay. About all I've really got right now is not a whole lot, except that I posted this from my personal account on the Facebook page a little while ago. This is going to be my last show for a little while. Back to the Future is our next show, obviously, and that's going to be handled by, as we talked about ahead of time, Robert Winfrey is going to step in, and once more, he's going to kind of be our Leno. And then after that, you've got Pat Mullen joining you to talk about Chuck Norris and the Missing in Action trilogy, where I'm sure there'll be many facts to know and tell. And then I'm going to be back in mid-March to talk about the Evil Dead trilogy. And it's going to be just you and I for 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever, just talking about 3 great classic low-budget horror movies. But in the meantime, with everything that's been going on lately, I just need to kind of, and I feel so silly in calling it public life because, I don't consider myself a celebrity or a big-time public figure or anything. But with everything going on the last couple of weeks, both with what we addressed at the top of the show, with Justin's death, and also with me personally, it's given me pause to stop reflecting a lot and realize that I've got some things that I really need to get figured out as far as my public kind of role in internet life and how it's affecting me personally. I will be back. This isn't permanent, but I'm going to be starting from almost the instant this show ends, from the time Mark signs off. I'm not going to be on Facebook very much. Maybe here and there to chat a little bit for business. I'm not going to be posting on the Long Road to Ruin Facebook page, which, by the way, I encourage all of you to go out there and like. I just need some time to kind of go off the grid for a little while. And I love doing the show. I love all of you. I've just got to figure out a way to keep doing this and thinking with respect to what kind of impression I'm really leaving with people, and making sure that I'm going to be remembered for the right things and as the right kind of person, and not just somebody who spends 90 minutes every 2 weeks trying to figure out new ways to make the word fuck funny. So, I mean, I'll be listening. I mean, I might pop in on you every now and then on Facebook, Mark, but for the most part, I just need to go bye-bye for a while. And when I come back, I can almost guarantee you I'm not going to come back until I'm really kind of the best Sean there is to be, both on the air and off, and to make sure that you're getting pretty much the same guy. So.
Well, Sean, we started this podcast because I wanted to work with you after hearing you on Thoughts from the Man Cave. I liked your moxie. I like what you had to say. I think you and I make a really, really good team. And considering John Brodigan told me today that the Right Hook will be ending in right before I go on my hiatus sometime this March. We got, I think, 3 more shows left. We have a repeat of the In Defense of the Ultimate Warrior tomorrow night, and then we have an interview next Wednesday, and I think that the Wednesday after that is the end of the Right Hook. So I would be I'd be sorely disappointed if I was also having to give up the Long Road to Ruin as well. So, obviously you take as much time as you need, but I'll be anxious to see you come back. So that, with that being said, let me go over the calendar really quick. So this Tuesday, the 11th, will be Metal Hammer of Doom. Will be taking on, myself and Robert Cooper will be taking on the Bro Metal. We'll be looking at Intolerance by Throwdown, all 20 minutes of it. So that'll be fun. On the 18th, as we discussed, Robert Winfrey will be stepping in for Mr. Sean Comer, and we'll be doing the Back to the Future trilogy. On February 25th is Metal Hammer of Doom. We'll be reviewing Grand Magus, their new album. March 4th, Pat Mullen will make his debut on the Long Road to Ruin. We'll be doing the Missing in Action trilogy. And then
this trilogy for a while anyway, hasn't he?
It's one that we've definitely had on the back burner for a while. We were just trying to figure out when we were going to do it. And then the 18th is really it. March 18th is the last Long Road to Ruin that I'm going to be on, probably until May or June, depending on how fast I can get my son to be on a sleeping schedule where I'll know whether or not I need to stop. It really comes down to this. We start these podcasts at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I need to know that he's going to be asleep for at least 2 hours in that period. If he's not, and I have to get up and feed, I can't be doing podcasts. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this. So the faster, I will come back as soon as Jonas is on a solid sleeping schedule. So everyone, you can find room in your prayers. Pray that Jonas is a good sleeper.
And I would also throw in that those of you who listen to us frequently and judging, and I would say this would be a lot of you, judging by how many of you downloaded the Paranormal Activity podcast, know that Mark no likey the scary stuff, no likey the gory stuff. So the first episode after Evil Dead, I really hope you guys like horror movies, because the first podcast of April is going to be myself and Robert Winfrey, and the first of a two-part look at Saw.
Very exciting. That's what I've been wanting you guys to do for a while now.
So you said you've been wanting to do Saw for a while? I bet you didn't want to do that one.
No. I've been wanting you to do it.
Oh, okay. I missed a word there. Yeah, and I think, and by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out our wonderful title card artist, Benjamin J. Colon. I couldn't tell if he was excited or cringing when I mentioned to him that was going to be on our calendar. And by the way, just a real brief aside, and then I'll let you go ahead and wrap things up. Also, shout out for those of you watching this on Manic Expression to our replacement theme music artist, Family Jewel 7X. You can find him over on YouTube. It is FAMILYJULES 7 and X. He does outstanding rock covers of classic video game music. And just as a kindness to us, be sure and mention that he dropped by because you heard one of his tracks on Long Road to Ruin. So.
Okay. Now, in addition to all of those Tuesday night podcasts, Wednesday nights, hopefully a little more consistently than it's been lately, there'll be a Casual Heroes WrestleCast. I want to put out a special announcement. Jason Teasley of Casual Heroes will be starting a new show on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, and that's going to go Thursday nights. He'll be bringing on Thoughts from the Man Cave host himself, Jeremy Lambert, and they'll be doing a sports show called From the Cheap Seats, not to be confused from A View from the Cheap Seats, which is Scott Kachowski's old column when he wrote for 411. So, From the Cheap Seats, From the Cheap Seats sports show podcast, another edition from the Casual Heroes. We're excited about that. And, of course, every Sunday night at 9 o'clock, except for when there's a pay-per-view that I feel like watching, is the 411 Ground and Pound radio show. This Sunday, we'll be previewing the next UFC Fight Night card from Brazil, which is headlined by Lyoto Machida versus Gegard Mousasi at middleweight. So go ahead and check that out. Again, we got a few more episodes of The Right Hook left, and then that show is going away. There will be no more The Right Hook. All right, so just tune in for all those podcasts. You can check out my live coverage of the next Fight Night card on February 15th. I think that's it for now. We'll be back next Tuesday for the Metal Hammer of Doom. Until then, big thanks to Jason Offutt for coming on the show. Be well, be safe, and behave.